the Native News Update. I'm your host for today's program, Paul DeMain. Many of the stories viewed here can be found at our website, IndianCountryNews.com. Here's the news stories for the day from the Associated Press and other Native news sources. Joe Beatus, a former tribal chair from the interior Alaska village of Hughes, has passed away at age 93. Beatus was remembered in a memorial service in Fairbanks, Alaska on May 18th. Beatus and Athabaskan became the tribal chief of the Kayukuk River village of Hughes northwest of Fairbanks when he was a young man. He published his life story in 1980, which was featured in a documentary film, Make Prayers to the Raven, and earned the honorary title of Traditional Chief. Last summer he celebrated his 7th wedding anniversary with his wife Celia. His large family included 54 great-grandchildren. Albuquerque police are appealing to the parent, relative, or caregiver who knows how the body of an unidentified boy ended up buried in the sand at a public playground to come forward. Albuquerque Police Commander Michael Gear said police want to hear that person's explanation of why the boy, believed to be 3 or 4 years old, was placed in a shallow grave under the bridge of a play structure at Alvarado Park. Investigators, stymied with the lack of information about the child, also encouraged the public to call police with any information, no matter how inconsequential it may seem, that may help identify the child. The 38-pound boy was wearing a red shirt with the image of a four-wheel drive truck on the front, black nylon pants with red stripes, and black tennis shoes. He had short, straight black hair and was 3 feet 2 inches tall. Police said he was Hispanic or American Indian. Police on May 19th released an artist rendering of the boy's face using a facial reconstruction from the autopsy to make his face recognizable again. 2 appeals pending over the 1975 killing of a Canadian woman on the Pine Ridge Reservation will move forward as a combined case. John Graham and Richard Marshall were set to stand trial last week in Rapid City on charges they committed or aided and abetted the murder of Anna Mae Pictou-Aquash in December of 1975, but the judge delayed the trial until the 8th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals rules on whether one of the counts against Graham should have been dismissed. A federal judge dismissed the aiding and abetting charges after Graham's attorney argued successfully that the American Indian Movement member accused of murdering Aquash may not be an American Indian as defined by U.S. federal law. Instead of handling both appeals separately, the 8th Circuit filed an order May 19th granting a request to consolidate both cases. Authorities nationwide were on the lookout for a mother and her 13-year-old cancer-stricken son who fled after refusing the chemotherapy that doctors say could save the boy's life. Colleen Hauser and her son Daniel, who has Hodgkin's lymphoma, apparently left their southern Minnesota home sometime after a doctor's appointment, and their court-ordered x-ray on May 18th showed his tumor had grown. Brown County District Judge John Rodenberg, who had ruled last week that Daniel's parents were medically neglecting him, issued an arrest warrant May 19th for Colleen Hauser and ruled her in contempt of court. The Hausers believe in the do no harm philosophy of the Nemaha Band, a Missouri-based religious group that believes in natural healing methods advocated by some American Indians. Membership in the Nemaha Band tribe is only by spiritual adoption. It is also the only way the Nemaha Seminary can accept you into the program and designate you as a medicine man or medicine woman. According to the organization's website, as a Nemaha medicine man or woman, you will be able to practice your healing ministry under the full weight and protection of the Native American Free Exercise of Religion Act of 1993 and the Religious Freedom Restoration Act of 1993. The proposed budget authority for the Indian Health Service made by the Obama administration for fiscal year 2010 is $4 billion. This is a $453 million or approximately 13% increase over the IHS fiscal budget year 2009 budget appropriation. The request includes funds necessary to maintain the current level of services provided as well as funds to expand within current program authority, access to care and address tribal contract support costs, and essential health information technology activities. The budget request included an increase of $167 million to cover increased costs associated with pay raises, population growth, inflation, and staffing and operating costs for new and expanded facilities. The President's proposal also requests an increase of $117 million in contract health service funds, which are used to purchase health care that IHS is unable to provide through its own network. A portion of the total amount will be set aside for catastrophic or high-cost cases. 2 wampum belts have been withdrawn from a New York City auction after the Onondaga Nation raised concerns about their sale. The belts were to be sold May 20th at Sotheby's Auction House. The Haudenosaunee Standing Committee, which includes the Onondaga Nation, says the belts should be returned to the Indian nations, which regard them as sacred. Sotheby's said May 19th the consignor, the estate of Herbert Wellington, decided to withdraw the items pending further discussion with the committee. One belt had an estimated value of $30,000, while the other about $20,000. Sotheby's says both had been in private hands since the 1970s. They were once in the collection of the Museum of the American Indian in Washington, D.C. The Wild Variety Journey for Forgiveness stopped in Showband Country at Fort Hall, Idaho on May 19th for a day-long presentation and healing from the effects of the boarding school era successfully. About 150 participants at the Showband School heard speakers ranging from current tribal council members to local people who talked about their own boarding school times. A community healing walk from the Showband School to the old boarding school site for a closing ceremony ended the day. The journey will next be on the Wind River Reservation in St. Stephen's, Wyoming on May 21st for a day of presentations on boarding school healing issues at St. Stephen's High School. You can contact Oreilles Kills on Top at 307-349-1806 for more information on those events. The opening of this event was held last weekend at the Chemawa Indian School. Don Coyas, founder and president of the White Bison Inc., gave an overview of the previous hoop journeys and laid the foundation for this journey, which was to focus on forgiveness. A picture of some of the elders that attended part of that opening is up on the two-dimensional screen, where they went to the Chemawa Indian School Cemetery. The cemetery for the school is located several miles from the current school. The ages of those buried in those graves range from 6 to 18. Some go back to the 1890s. During the 1890s, it is reported that up to 50% of the children sent to boarding schools died in their first year. For more information on the Wild Variety Journey, you can go to whitebison.org. Regional Chief of Ontario Angus Taulaus stated his support recently for a peaceful protest against the creation of a landfill at Site 41 in Tiny Township of Georgian Bay, Ontario. He says, "I fully support this peaceful protest organized by the First Nations and non-Aboriginal people who are standing together to protect their environment." The peaceful protest has taken place at a farm near the proposed landfill site. The protesters include men, women, and children, First Nations and non-Aboriginal people from the surrounding area, as well as those who have traveled to the site to show their support. Initially, the landfill project was rejected after a 70-day environmental assessment hearing in 1989. However, the government intervened and overturned the decision through an order in council. The landfill is currently under construction and is located within 8 kilometers of Georgian Bay. For more information, you can contact Kathleen Pelcher of the Chiefs of Ontario at 807-626-9339. And that is the latest roundup of news from Indian Country. On this edition of the Native News Update, we want to thank our underwriters for helping us with this broadcast and you for joining with us again. Miigwech.